This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute, and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
Boobies. Hi.
Hello.
And welcome
To
Boobies.
Boobies, that's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And we are here to talk about my all-time favorite film. This is the one that kind of kicked off horror for me.
Started it all.
It made me be like, this is a very good genre. Let me just go balls to the wall with it.
When did you first watch it?
You know, I
young?
have no clue. I think I was.
Yeah.
And then I think I will admit that whenever I watched it again and then was really like, you know what, I want to know more and like really get into horror films, I was like early 20s.
Gotcha.
I think whenever I watched it like again and then was like, you know what, there's really, because I had watched horror movies all growing up and stuff and I liked them, but then actually getting into them and like kind of, you know, having an opinion about them rather than just being like, oh yeah, that was a good movie.
Go watch that movie.
This was the film that like spurred that for me.
This film was because like you grow up and like I didn't watch this too probably till I was like 22 23 for the first time, but I knew about it, that I felt like that I had felt like I had seen it because of just how many references and how much.
I think I had actually seen the remake first
before you even saw this one. And so like,
and I loved it.
There's just so much reference to it that you already know, like Norman Bates and then like the mother and then like, you know, Marion and of course like the famous scene of her getting, you know, murdered in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And even the music without even watching the film, like, oh, I've heard this music before in like commercials or like TV shows where they've like imitated it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The soundtrack is iconic.
Yeah. I was like, oh, literally Insidious copied the soundtrack to Psycho and just added more like, you know, bass to it. I don't know. Because it was like, it gave those vibes. But
Psycho did it first.
They,
Alfred Hitchcock apparently... kind of one fun fact to begin with. Sir Alfred Hitchcock was so pleased with the score written by Bernard Herrmann that he doubled the composer's salary to $34,501. Hitchcock later said 33% of the effect of Psycho was due to the music.
It was. Yeah. I love how he had that to like 33% of to like an exact number.
Yeah.
I like the science. But
33%. That's like the $501.
Yeah.
Seems kind of silly. But
ironically, I will agree with him.
He originally was adamant that there should be no music in the shower scene, but was persuaded by his wife to give it a try. And the screeching violins and dire strings, which would inspire the music for Jaws in 1975, ended up selling the scene and driving theatrical audiences beyond anything they had ever experienced.
Yeah, that scene itself as well for, you know, coming out in the 1960s. Like,
yeah.
I was like, can only imagine. Because watching it now, you're like, where's the blood? Where's that? But like at that point, like this was like really graphic. This was super violent. And especially having like, you know, a young white blonde. Wait, was she blonde? Was she blonde? Yeah,
she was
like
blonde.
Yeah, it's because it's in black and white. Yeah, but
she
like,
looked blonde.
Having this, you know, young beautiful white woman like being murdered, just like in a bathtub, like it's just like that.
Yeah,
terrifying.
she's naked.
Yeah, like
that's already risque, like for the actress and stuff. Oh
yeah, for sure.
And so, I think so. I own Psycho. I did watch this on Netflix because, again, I don't have a DVD player anymore. But whenever I used to have my DVD player, I would watch it all the time. And there was like this bonus feature thing where you could watch like kind of more about the like kind of like a documentary, basically. And I remember it said like, I think kind of similar to The Exorcist, like people were lined up outside for hours, and then like people would leave like fainting and stuff like that. I mean, The Exorcist was a lot more graphic. Yeah. But and so I can understand people fainting there, but like people,
the material
had
itself.
A pretty big, like almost visceral reaction as well to this. So
yeah, let's dive into it. I'd say. Right? Yeah. The Psycho, if you haven't read the title or heard all the many things we've been saying about it.
If you haven't been listening this entire time, we're covering Psycho.
We're covering Psycho.
1960, the original.
We hadn't said the actual title itself, but it starts up and we are immediately introduced to the very iconic and familiar music that we were just talking about. The violins, and like it's very like fast, and it produces like a level of anxiety already in you. And it opens, I like the way that the credits open up, and it's kind of like a title sequence credits at the beginning. And the way that like, I don't know what you call it, but you know, how the words were like elongated and then would like tie in with the like.
Yeah, they would come together. They were like off centered and then they'd focus in. And then it almost looked like, you know, like sound. At a lot of points. Yeah. Like almost as if they were just showing us the like actual sound wave of what was happening with the music. Yeah.
And so I just thought it was pretty creative. I thought it was pretty cool. And we opened up immediately on a cityscape, and it looks, I was like, is that Waco? It looked like Waco. There are no like tall buildings. So of course it's back in the day, but we opened up at Phoenix, Arizona.
Friday, December the 11th.
At 2:34 p.m.
2:43.
Or 2:43, my bad. Yeah, you're probably right. But also, I thought that was very interesting that it opened up with that, but I guess it's to also like give you like an idea, because throughout the movie we do like realize that like, or you know, she's missing, so I think it's supposed to produce like already like a timestamp of like, this is how much time has passed, I guess. Yeah. But I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I think, and it's a good, basically like, you know, anytime that you're writing,
they're setting it up.
Yeah, you have to set your story. You have to set your scene. And so this was just a very cut and dry way. To let you know exactly where you are. There's no confusion. Yeah. Which, you know, is good. People still do it today in films. So I think that's totally, it's totally fine.
Yeah. No, nothing wrong about it. I was just
hate
like,
it.
Yeah, no, I was just like, oh, okay. Like it was very cut and dry, like you said. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like we're getting this very matter of fact. Like this is especially I was like, okay, we need to know this.
Yeah. No artistic
nuances.
Letting you see a calendar in the background or something.
Yeah, like it was very much like
it's like, no, it's December 11th, dummy.
And so there's this scene that we come up on, and it's basically this couple in a hotel, and they're kissing, and he's definitely,
and I love it. They're meeting up on their lunch break to have sex.
They are.
What a fun couple.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Because I guess
or her lunch break anyways.
Well, and the thing is that like nobody's married, because it gives like they're giving like an affair or they're cheating or something. Yeah. But like, I mean, technically he has an ex-wife, and then like but she's never married, but it gives very much that. So for some reason they've been keeping this relationship.
Yeah, I called
secret.
it an affair.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, oh, are they having an affair?
Cheating.
Yeah,
but it is because that's like you said,
secrecy.
Yeah, like, they were very secretive about it.
And then she's getting dressed. Her body is banging. I was like, damn.
Yeah, and those pointy bras. Mm-hmm. We should bring them back.
And she is talking to him, and it gets she is very upfront of like, this has been fun and all, but like, I want to date you respectively and properly. Like, you need to come over to my house so I can cook you dinner and like with my sister and like all this stuff. And, so it gives more so like he was trying to keep it under wraps, but yet he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it. And so I'm like, oh, wait. So
he just has too much of his own baggage with paying his ex-wife alimony. And basically, I think it's probably a little bit his like toxic masculinity coming through. And he's like, I can't provide for you right now. And so I don't want to get into anything because it's clear that he like is super into her. And he was not just some sleazeball.
Yeah, well, especially because he's like very much like asking her like, wait, you want to cut it off? Like, and like he very much
like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and he's like, wait a minute. Yeah. So he definitely wants her.
Oh, and speaking of, this couple's name is Sam and Marion. Sam Loomis, which is
Billy Loomis, Mr. Loomis, Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
From the
so
Michael
many
Myers
horror films.
And he basically. What happens? Oh yeah, they're having their little banter, and then like he's basically kind of like a duck behind her the whole time as she's like trying to leave, and then she's got her clothes on, and then she's saying her goodbyes.
She's like, boy, bye.
And she leaves, and she's like,
not before begging him to get married though. Too.
That's true. Yeah,
she did not only say like let's date respectively. She was like, oh Sam, let's get married.
That's true.
And then they were like, such a forceful kiss. Her head was like shaking
for real. And so she ends
which was very of the time.
No, yeah,
but it's just so silly.
And then like the way you did it too, it's like parodied now.
Yeah.
But she ends up leaving, and she goes back to work because she was running late, and she's asking her secretary like, hey, is the boss back yet? And she's like, no, he's out with this dude talking about a big sale. And so thankfully she beat him there. And it's funny because she's like talking about how she has a headache. It's a fake headache, of course. And the lady's like, do you want these tranquilizers?
I know. She out of nowhere was just like, they gave these to me on my wedding day. Here's these fucking tranquilizers. She jumps from aspirin to tranquilizers.
Oh, yeah. She's like, you want something stronger? And it just like proves to me, I'm like, times never change. Like, yeah, the times never change. And so the boss is coming back in, and he comes in with obviously this dude that he was talking to. I guess because they sell land, houses, something like that. It's like real tree, real.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's real estate.
Real estate. So,
yeah. And he says the line, it's as hot as fresh milk. And I thought that was disgusting. I didn't like that line.
Well, because, fresh milk being hot is just gross. And then like out of the udder and then like all of that. Yeah.
It needs to be the cow's body temperature.
It needs to be pasteurized, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they say, do?
I'm pretty sure. I don't drink milk.
I don't necessarily drink it, but we do have this dude that comes up with him being quite the character, and he's playing like that rich swanky guy who's flashy, and he's basically talking to Marion,
using his wealth to flirt.
Yeah, and talking about his baby girl and how she's gonna get married, and he is buying her this land for, I guess, as a wedding gift, as for her and her hubby. Yeah, I guess. Which also like, why isn't the husband like? Why are you buying this for them? But I guess that's how it works when you have old money and rich money and all that kind of stuff.
It's a wedding gift, like you said. It's a obscenely large wedding gift, but
and so
I mean, it still happens all the time today. People would be like, you can have the house that we grew up in and we'll buy a new house, and so then people get their first home.
But that's not what's happening. He's buying her.
Well, yeah, but like parents will also then buy a house or something too. People
That's
give
very nice of parents.
I know. Yeah. It's not a reality I will ever live in. But I
feel that. Yeah. And so he's, like you said, taunting or like flashing this money in her face, because he then like pulls out 40,000 big macaroonies in cash in front of her. And I looked it up. 40,000 back then would have been like 465,000 today.
Jeez.
So that's just like that amount of money. Like that's why the girls were like, whoa.
And
like,
he says, I never carry in more than I can afford to lose, which I was like,
damn.
Oh, you're about to lose it.
And so and
also, yeah, damn, like what a dick thing to say.
And the
just
boss,
flaunted.
the boss is even like, I don't like this. Like, can't you just try to check? And then he's just like, no, whatever. I don't know. But he tells Marion, he's like, take this to the bank safe and we'll keep it over the weekend. And whenever Monday happens, we will ask him to write a check. Like, you know,
yeah.
Because he doesn't like, having all that cash.
He didn't want it just lying around. It's a liability, because if it goes missing, it can't just be canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's why he wanted to check.
And so he ended up, it ends up being the weekend, and she's like, I'm actually going to go ahead and head out early. I'm not feeling that well. And she takes the money, puts it in her bag, and she is leaving. And she ends up going home. She is obviously doesn't have a headache, and she's like getting stuff packed up.
Yeah. And you see the money laying on the bed in which you can, because at first she doesn't give any sort of
sign,
none of her body language. And like, especially with how much her body language gives away later.
She's playing it super chill and breezy right now.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, she's going to go to the bank. Like,
yeah.
And then I was thinking, I wrote down, I was like, oh, she didn't go. Why is she changing before the bank?
Go to the bank.
And in my mind, I'm thinking like, she's still going to the bank. Like, I guess she's changing first. But yeah. And then like she gets all that stuff packed up, and I was like, oh wait, nope. She's going to run off with this money.
Yep.
Yeah.
She is leaving town, and getting the heck out of Dodge.
And especially because they set it up earlier with like Sam saying like he needed this much money and like this much to, pay off or feel comfortable, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah. She's thinking, I can take this money and start the life that I want with Sam.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he'll have no excuse.
but to love me and marry me. Exactly. Yep. And so she ends and
like, she wouldn't get fucking caught though.
Oh yeah, it's wild. Like I don't understand why she thought
a few towns over.
This was just chill.
I know it's not a few towns over.
Worst thief ever. I will say that. And so because there's so many times, so she ends up driving, and like she sees her fucking boss on the way to like leaving town,
and she's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Awkward. I was hoping the boss was drunk enough to not put two and two together, but he did remember.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate.
And he even looked at her funny at that moment, like, wait a minute, shouldn't you be at home?
Can we go back to when she was changing for a second? She was buttoning her shirt with one hand. I don't understand how in the hell she did that. To like button it. She was like packing and then buttoning her shirt with one hand.
Talent.
Maybe it's because I normally have like talons and I can barely button a shirt normally.
With just those two hands? That might be.
I just saw that and I was like, holy shit, she is buttoning her shirt with one hand. I was amazed.
That's going to be my challenge tonight. I'm going to go home and see if I can do that.
See if, yeah. I want to try now too.
Do it. Try with both hands, the left and the right. You might be stronger with one or the other.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was not an important aside, but
you're good.
I had to bring it up.
And so, like we said, she had ran into the boss, and of course, she's like, ooh, and he's like, ooh, but she just keeps driving off. And eventually, it looks like, she's leaving town. You can totally tell by the way, like, they're leaving the city, and it's more like country roadish.
Yeah.
The mountains of California, I think, or wherever they are. Arizona, close around that area.
I mean, Phoenix is pretty damn close to California.
So this could have been where she was leaving from. Yeah. And there were a lot of California plates we saw when she was at the dealership. So she ends up leaving, but
she's like on that county line.
She's driving
state.
And then at that point she is, we just see that it's the next day or next morning because her car is pulled off on the side of the road.
Yep.
And a cop pulls by, and we see that she was sleeping in her vehicle.
Yep. He approaches her car and he knocks on the window, wakes her up, and instead of acting
what today would be a jump scare, but it wasn't a jump scare.
Yeah. Which was nice.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, instead of acting calm and collected, she's acting shady as fuck.
So like wearing everything on her her sleeve, she's, you know, she seems later on he asks, was she acting like a wrong one or something like that?
Yeah,
or did she look like a wrong one to you? And he said, oh, she acting like one.
Yeah. And because she asks at one point, am I acting as if there's something wrong? And he was like, frankly, yes. Yeah. You really fucking are.
Yeah.
And the way he delivered it too was basically just like that.
Like you slept all night, because he's even like, you could have pulled over to a hotel, and she's like, oh, I was only gonna take like a nap, you know, I was gonna sleep all night. And this is the
which
60s.
I don't really see the big problem with this.
Well, I think also too, like in terms of
dangerous.
like in terms of like the time period as well, I still feel like that time, like he's probably thinking like,
what's this woman out here doing?
Yeah,
wrong?
exactly.
Yeah.
She must have done, who's she running from? Which everybody kept thinking.
Slept in many a gas station parking lots because I tend to fall asleep while driving.
Yeah. So
quite a bit.
So that's the good thing.
But not on the side of the road.
Yeah. But she ends up acting, you know, funny the whole time, and then he asks for her ID. But after all of that, he ends up letting her go, and she drives off. But we do get that like scene of like, you know, the music, and we think he's following her for a little bit, but then he ends up taking like a different exit.
Yeah.
And going off to, I guess, not even his own way, because it's not the last time we see of him.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess see him pretty soon.
He probably saw which direction she was going and was like, I'm going to take a shortcut and cut her off, kind of thing.
He knows
what she's doing.
That could have been it as well.
Yeah.
Or it was just by happenstance that he ended up seeing her again.
Yeah.
And then he was like, let me snoop this out.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, now I'm seeing her here at a car dealership. What is she doing here?
Yeah, and she was already acting real shady to begin with. So.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Did you know you could be putting oil and chemicals in your coffee? I love coffee creamer, but I don't think I've ever turned the bottle around to actually see what's inside. When I did, I found out many of my favorite creamers contain ingredients I would never intentionally add to my coffee cup, like canola oil, dipotassium phosphate, and artificial flavors. Laird Superfood all started when big wave surfer Laird Hamilton needed morning fuel that could allow him to spend the entire day chasing the ultimate wave. He couldn't find anything in the market that met his ingredient standards, so made himself the ultimate plant-based creamer. Laird Superfood started and launched its first product, Original Superfood Creamer, in 2015. Laird Superfoods contain no artificial flavors, colors, or additives, and no sugars from highly refined corn syrup. All Laird products are sustainably sourced and thoroughly tested to ensure that you're incorporating the cleanest, finest fuel into your routine. All Laird products are also made of all-natural whole food ingredients, and they are crafted from the highest quality all-natural real food ingredients. Are you ready to feel more energized, focused, and supported? Go to lairdsuperfood.com and add nourishing plant-based foods to fuel you from sunrise to sunset. Use our promo code BOO at checkout to save 15% off your purchase today. Are you tired of the same old boring puzzles? Mix things up with Wongo puzzles. Each puzzle is a custom design with intricate patterns and whimsical shapes that will keep you engaged for hours. Plus, their eco-friendly materials and commitment to sustainability make Wongo puzzles a guilt-free way to unwind. Wongo puzzles are 100% wooden puzzles, meaning they'll last forever. Each piece is hand-drawn, so no two pieces are the same, and you'll discover some fun, whimsy pieces as you work through it. They come in a custom wooden box, which is perfect for storage and gifting. With stunning design and unique shapes, Wongo puzzles are a cut above the rest. So what are you waiting for? Go to wongopuzzles.com and pick your puzzle today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO and get 10% off of your order. This is the most fun you've had with a puzzle guaranteed or your money back. Go to Wongo, WONGO, puzzles.com and use the code BOO to get 10% off your order and get puzzling right now. Wongo.
Did you know that dehydration is the leading cause of daytime fatigue? I was shocked to learn that even mild dehydration can cause headaches, muscle weakness, and brain fog. But luckily, there's a solution. Cure Hydration is an oral rehydration solution that contains the perfect balance of electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb water and rehydrate quickly. The formula is made with all natural ingredients like coconut water, powder, and pink Himalayan salt, and is free from artificial flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives. Cure Hydration is vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO, making it a great option for anyone with dietary restrictions or preferences. The packets are convenient and easy to use. Just mix with water and drink. They're perfect for on the go, travel, or anytime you need a quick and effective hydration boost. Hydration is more than just drinking water.
That's what Lauren Picasso, a lifelong endurance athlete, discovered as she struggled to stay hydrated no matter how much water she drank. Lauren founded Cure, a science-backed electrolyte drink mixed to make hydrating easy for everyone. Cure believes that hydration should be simple and effective, but also clean and natural. That's why they use only the highest quality plant-based ingredients and avoid any artificial or harmful additives. They're committed to transparency and honesty. All of their ingredients are clearly listed on their website and packaging, and they're always happy to answer any questions or concerns. Ready to combat dehydration? Try Cure today and feel the difference for yourself. Use code BOO for 20% off your order.
I love smoothies, but I don't love smoothie bar prices. With my BlendJet 2 portable blender, I can make smoothie bar quality beverages for a fraction of the price.
BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach.
Yum.
It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking up the whole house. Lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go.
I do love that feature about it. It is rather nice.
It does, and
Yeah.
it stays pretty quiet.
What color did you get?
I got black because it matches the color of my soul.
Perfect. I got pink because if my whole life could be pink, it would be.
We love pink.
It matches my water bottle perfectly.
It sure does.
Yeah. So whenever I carry both, I feel very aesthetic. I'm
That's
like,
nice.
yay, got me a nice pink BlendJet 2, looking real cute. And it's real yummy with my good smoothie in it. So what are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use promo code
BOO12.
to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to the quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code
BOO12.
to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping.
Shop today and get the best deal ever.
Yay!
And now, a word from our sponsors.
So coming back after dealing with all of the, cop fiasco that happened on the side of the road, she ends up at a dealership.
Yep.
Which I also super fishy move after you just stole money and you're on the run.
Yeah,
let's
because
go
now
buy
she's
a
leaving an
car
actual paper trail.
of where she's been.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also like buying a new car, or a used car, sorry. When you already had what seemed to be a perfectly fine vehicle. So the only reason is that you don't want to be recognized, that just seems fishy.
Yeah.
And even when she's going, she pulls up, and very immediately that same cop we see pulls up and parks on the other side opposite of the road to her at the dealership.
And then gets out of his car.
Yeah,
so
and
he
she's
wasn't
standing there
even
watching her.
He was being like entirely blatant. He was like, I'm here. I'm observing you.
Mm-hmm. And obviously that makes her nervous as she is dealing with the salesman at the dealership who is like pretty much just doing his whole spiel.
Yeah.
This is a normal day for him. But he does also pick up on her like nervousness and her weird, behavior.
Yes. He says multiple times, I think this is the first time a customer is out or like hard pressured the salesperson kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because normally the salespeople are like whacking you over the head with it. And this time she's like, no, I want out of here now.
And so she's asking how much her vehicle traded in plus, whatever it would cost would be to leave with the vehicle. And so he says, your vehicle plus $700. Yeah. And he's thinking at first, like, probably like she won't take it, or I don't know, like if she wants to haggle, but she's just like 700. And he's like, oh, now you got time to haggle. And she's like, no, I'll do it. That's fine. Yeah. And he's even more like, oh,
like,
okay, that's weird.
And then he also notices the cop like watching from across the way too. And he's kind of like,
he's like, you're not in any trouble, are you?
Yeah. And she was like, can you guarantee that this car is yours? Basically, like, have you stolen this car and now you're trying to trade it off? Like, what's going on? And she was like, I believe I have all the necessary paperwork.
She gets the cash out while she's in the restroom. She comes and she tries to make a really fast transaction, which she does. But as she's leaving, the one, as she's leaving, the cop pulls up. So now he's over there standing with them. And then she forgets her luggage and stuff in the backseat of the old vehicle. So now it even seems even more so like, dang, she's really trying to get out of here.
Trying to make a break for it.
Yeah, but they stop her and they give her stuff and she still ends up leaving. But it's funny how like it just fades away. Like all three men are just kind of watching her.
Yeah. And as she's driving away, we get voiceovers. So basically, which I thought this was a pretty clever way to let us in on what all is going on back where she wasn't.
Yeah.
So we get this long shot of her driving, and then we're hearing like Lila, her sister, calling and talking with, what was his name? Lowry? No.
Yeah, the boss.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think so. We can look it up. But she's talking to Marion's boss and asking questions like he's asking, have you seen Marion? Like we're looking for her. She didn't. She was feeling sick the other day. She didn't come into work on Monday. This is where we get the little thing of like where he says that he did see her on Friday after work, but only for a little bit as she was driving somewhere.
Yeah.
And so at this point, it does start to rain really, really hard as well. And she is trying to drive through it, but it gets to a point where she can't see so well through the, front windshield. So we're seeing all this happen, and she ends up coming, Lowry. Yeah. She ends up coming close to, or ends up seeing the Bates Motel, because it has the very neon light glowing saying vacancy.
Yeah. Your standard motel neon.
Yeah. And she ends up pulling over and stopping to go there. So she ends up walking in, and there's nobody at the front desk right now, but she does kind of walk out, and there's a house that's right next to the hotel, and she sees a woman in the window.
And it's a beautiful house.
It is. Yeah.
Such a pretty house.
It reminded me of like the house from the Munsters. It was a very big house. And because I guess
Munster
it was
cheese.
gray and white. With crackers and ham or something.
Yeah. No ham, but.
Oh, true. My bad. And so
olives,
green olives, black
yes.
olives,
green, or Kalamata
olives. I've never heard of that. I don't eat olives.
I think they're
really.
Technically green.
Oh,
still,
okay.
I don't really know.
Those are with the little red dot or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different kind of olives.
There's
aren't
so
there?
many olives.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I just always used to think just black and green
Actually,
ones.
I think Kalamata are black. I don't know, but I love olives. I buy the little olive packages that are called olives. All loves. It's like love. Like you love olives.
All loves. That's cute.
And it's delicious. They've got so many yummy flavors. Sponsored by Olives.
Olives. Check us out. And so we're checking in, and because Mr. Bates comes up and he's helping her check in.
She has to honk her horn to get his attention, which I was surprised even through. That rain was heavy. So I was surprised even through that rain that he heard it from inside the house.
Very torrential.
Maybe the insulation wasn't as good back in the day, though.
Maybe the horns were louder.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Beep, beep.
And so he's helping her check in, and she's signing her name onto the thing. And we can tell that she doesn't use her real name.
Yeah, she uses what? Mary Samuels.
Mary Samuels. And
which Marion.
Marion.
Samuels.
Yeah. We end up he grabs a key for room number 1. But also it was like he was gonna put her in a different room.
Yeah, a different room.
But then went to room number 1.
And it was like, ugh.
Yeah, like already from the bat, as like an observer watching the movie, you can tell like there's a little something off, but it's not completely like, oh, no. I'm worried right now. But there is a little,
because
like,
Norman seems rather
awkward.
Friendly, but he's just like maybe lacks some social skills.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And so,
because he's been a hermit his whole life with his mother.
Exactly. And so he ends up putting her in room number 1. And he's like, that's lucky for you because it's right next to the office. So if you need anything, you could just let me know.
Knock on the wall and I'll come over and help.
Yeah, he's being what seems to be like real chivalrous right now and really nice and like a friendly person. Not giving off,
creep.
Insane.
Gonna watch you through the wall.
Psycho.
Yeah.
No psycho vibes so far. But we do have her. He like tells her his full name. He's like, I'm Norman Bates, and if you need anything, whatever, blah 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 blah. So she ends up getting in the room.
And he asked her to have dinner with him.
That's right.
Too.
So he told her that she can clean herself up a little bit, and then he will get her whenever it is ready.
Yeah.
And so she's in the bedroom, and at this point, she's trying to figure out where to hide the money.
Yeah, and she's
like
really floundering.
bad. She's really bad.
Yeah. She's not,
at being a thief.
It's clear that this was not premeditated.
No, none of this was thought out.
Because, yes, she has no plan.
Not
at
one
all.
plan. And so she can't decide where to put the money. So she had gotten a newspaper from the car dealership earlier.
Yeah.
And she ends up taking the money out of the envelope and laying it flat in the newspaper and then like holding it that way. And then she just puts it right next to the on the bedstand.
Right in plain sight on the nightstand. Yeah.
Because I get it. Because I feel like she thinks this is so mundane, nobody's going to grab it. But that's the whole thing, is that someone's going to see that newspaper and be like, oh, I want to read that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't.
I think it would have been better off in an envelope in a drawer.
And her suitcase and her luggage the entire time.
I didn't understand why it had to come out of her luggage.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. But it did. And it's there. So now we know
especially if
where
she's
it's
only
at.
staying for one night. Because, like, I get... Whenever I stay in hotels for a long period of time, I do unpack my bags and I hang stuff up and stuff like that. But if I'm only staying for one night, my stuff stays in my bag.
Well, also, like, if I had that much money, even if I was staying for more than one night at a hotel, that money's staying on my person.
Yeah.
Like, that money is not
leaving my side.
Literally.
Yeah.
But she does that. She's getting ready. She's trying to get dressed to, like, I guess have dinner with Norman, but she ends up hearing voiceover coming from the house, which also, like, for them to be yelling this loud, for her to hear it through a house all the way
the
through
rain
land, and to the motel part of the property, she hears what sounds to be Norman and his mother fighting, and she's basically calling Marion a whore and saying, you want to have sex with her and do nasty,
you want to bring some cheap girl to dinner, not in my house.
You can't fornicate. And so
your
he's
erotic
like,
thoughts, I know how you men work, kind of thing.
So weird. And so this whole thing is going on, she's just listening, poor thing, and then he ends up coming to her with the food. To her with the food. And he's like, I wish I could apologize on my mother's behalf. She just hasn't been feeling herself today.
And she says, mother, well, she isn't quite herself today. And I was like, yeah, no shit. Because she's you, bitch.
She's dead. And so he's like, or she says, it's okay. Like, don't mind it. Like, I'm sorry I got you in trouble. And she's like, since you made the food, like, we can still eat. And he invites her to go into the office parlor room. And we do go in there and we see that he has quite the hobby of stuffing birds.
Speaking of which, did you watch Bates Motel, the television series?
No.
Oh, Vera Farmiga. She did a fantastic job as Mrs. Bates.
Playing the mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also, what's his face playing Norman?
Oh,
been in so
I know
much.
his name from The Good Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, I know his name. I just said it earlier. I know his name.
And also that,
it'll come to me.
Spiderwick Chronicles or whatever. I think he was in that.
Oh, he's been acting since forever. He was
since he was a little baby.
Charlie in the Willy Wonka and the Wonka Factory. Yeah.
Yeah. They did a great job of really tying. I felt like it was a perfect backstory.
Because it's it's about like how we ended up here, right?
Yeah.
And then Rihanna was Marion, wasn't she?
Rihanna?
Yeah, she played Marion, like in the season finale or the last season.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I never made it to the end.
Yeah, she comes in and she plays Marion.
Fun. I like that.
Because Bates Motel was one of her favorite shows, and like the people who were show running like saw in an interview on like one of those magazines that she mentioned that, and so they asked her to be on it, and she played Marion.
That's so dope.
But yeah,
Rihanna, listen to us.
Oh, what's his name? This episode has been sponsored by Rihanna, by Fenty. So we are arguing. Miss Marion is like, taking a notice to all the birds around, and she's asking about his hobby. And he says it's not so much that all animals he likes to do taxidermy to, it's just the birds. Because
they're already kind of passive.
Yeah.
It's not like stuffing a beast. And he's like, it just looks wrong.
Yeah.
But birds, they're already kind of not really in the forefront of your mind, I guess. So they look normal stuffed and not like a dead animal.
And at this point, he's kind of opening up about himself a little bit to Marion, and we are learning about like, you know, him and his mother, and how, you know, she married his father died first, and then, you know, she remarried, and then that person died, and it was too much for her to, you know, bear, and so that's why she's just not herself since then. And at this point, he also mentions, like, you know, the very famous line, because she's like, don't you have any other friends or do other things for fun other than, you know, you and your mom? And he's like, a boy's best friend, and it's his mother. And at that point, you're already starting to get a sense of like something's off. Yeah. Like, this guy isn't normal.
No, yeah, because he knows too much. Like, he's clearly very smart.
Yeah.
Too, because like or at least is super well educated in what his hobbies are and stuff, because like he has the line too, like, that eats like a bird, but it's a falsity kind of thing. And then he goes into about birds and stuff too. So it's,
they eat quite a lot.
Yeah. And so he knows a lot of things, and he's really, like you said, opening up and telling a lot about himself. You really get to know Norman in this bit. And then this is what I like, the line that he comes to next, which he says, you know what I think? I think we're all in our private traps, clamped in them, and none of us can ever get out. We scratch and claw at the air, and for all of it, never move an inch. But then he says, like, I was born in mine. I liked that.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And
because she says, I think we put ourselves in them intentionally sometimes, speaking in direct reference to her situation that she's in. And then he was like, I was born in mine, which, I mean, mental health, a lot of the times you are born with the disease.
Well, that, and like, I feel like a lot of the torment he went through was going through with his mother and that relationship as well. Like, he was quite literally born into his trap as well. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even with his mental state, or however that was.
In the show, he killed his father.
And I never watched the show. I was gonna say, like, did they portray her to be like crazy, and that's why he was crazy? Like,
she was
like overbearing.
It was a little bit of both.
Like,
there were some moments where she was really like good, and then there were some moments where I was like, "Girl, you were what the fuck?"
What I get from this is what I was getting. Well, like, is it like a Gypsy Rose situation where it's like the mom is like really like, you know, and so it drives that person to only do what they can do is be crazy.
I think she coddled him too much is what it was, and then he basically just kind of leaned into it.
And then he was also a psycho on top of that.
Yeah. And basically there could be no other men in his mom's life other than him. Like, it was just him and his mom, and that's why his dad had to go, and why her lovers all had to die as well.
Gotcha.
Because he killed lots of her lovers.
Okay.
TV show.
Okay.
And
she would cover it up.
Yeah.
And so it'd just be like cyclical. And so he is talking about how, like, he doesn't leave his mom because he loves her, because even Marion is like, at this point, you know, wouldn't it be better to, you know, put her someplace else? And really struck a chord with Norman.
He also had the line too that was slightly before this, that says, a son is a poor substitute for a lover, which was like,
it's cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's like, well, yeah, obviously true. But like, also I feel like that shouldn't need to be said, kind of thing. It just, it leads you, it lets you know about his relationship with it. It gives very Ed Gein and stuff too.
It gives incest.
Yeah.
And so it's just weird.
Yes. Taboo, as always.
Very taboo. And so, whenever she brings up the other, like, you know, a loony bin, a madhouse, as he says, it really offends him, because he goes into
Put her in an institution?
Yeah. And
a madhouse?
He gives really good, like, detail of, like, what these places are. So it also gives, like, oh, you know, way too well of, like, what it's like to be in a madhouse. Yeah. Almost. Like, you know, maybe he was in one when he was younger or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's canon at all. But I'm just saying, like, it was striking too much of a nerve with him that, like, that should have been a red flag for her. But he's obviously just like, you know, I would never do that to her. Like,
he went from saying, like, I hate what she's become, the illness, I hate the illness, to saying she's as harmless as one of those stuffed birds.
Yeah.
And it's like, he went just kind of completely 180 now, all of a sudden defending. It's like, I can talk shit about my siblings, but the moment you talk shit about my sibling, I'm going to come for you.
Yeah, I see that.
Kind of thing. It was like that.
Yeah. And so at this point, she's done eating her food, and I like this line too that he had too. He said, people always mean well. They cluck their thick tongues and shake their heads and suggest, oh, very delicately. And then she was basically like, okay. Yeah, like it's getting awkward.
I'm going to get out of here now.
Yeah. And so she does end up going back to her room, and she starts to like, get ready for the nighttime for going to sleep. And at this point, we see that she's getting undressed and stuff because he takes one of the...
and she says she's going to go back to Phoenix.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because she says...
basically saying like what's going on.
Yeah. And meanwhile, she had told him that she was from Los Angeles. And he's starting to put together...
like her
because
lie.
she says... she mentions that her name is Crane as well. And she says, I want to pull myself out of the trap that she's put herself in, basically. And yeah, and then he kind of catches her in that lie because he sees, oh, she wrote Samuels, but she just gave me Crane. She also said she's going back to Phoenix, even though she told me she was from Los Angeles. And so he's putting some things together. But yeah, then she's back in her room and she's going to change.
Yeah, and
or get ready to shower.
He has a peephole essentially behind a photograph that he has, and this is what also giving like, this is why he wanted her in room number 1, so he could could watch her, keep eyes on her. So pretty creepy. Which
the wallpaper on that back wall was incredibly busy, which is, I'm imagining the whole point. I mean, if you're not looking close enough, you would miss it.
Yeah. And so he's but it's also like he's watching her, but then he also is like compelled to like not watch her as she's about to get naked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which ties in later on and why he feels the need to be triggered here in a moment, because that from the psychiatrist later, when we get the analysis of everything, he was feeling desires for Miss Marion.
Yep. And then the jealous mom comes out.
Yeah.
But she is in there, she's undressing, and then Norman goes back up to the house.
Oh, he walks like he's on a mission too. He's like disturbed almost.
Walking away very determinedly. And she starts leaving more of a paper trail at first, subtracting.
I did not understand why she started writing a ledger.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Writing down, subtracting the 700 from 40,000.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, first off, you
can't do that math in your head. But also... like,
now you're leaving more evidence.
And she also, I think, immediately is like, oh wait, I shouldn't have done this, and so she tries to get rid of it, but
rips it up and flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah,
but clearly that doesn't work, because later on they find
which I also was like, how is it a week later and they this
and can still read
it's still legible.
She wrote with a pencil too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But it moves the plot forward, so it's fine by me. And so we do have also, after she does, she's writing all that, we're cutting in between the two of them, and he goes and sits at a table in the dining room in his house, and you can tell like he's like having like an internal, like, it feels like a struggle almost, like he's like fighting the voices in his head, the demons. And like she flushes it, right? And so we see her finally getting in the shower, and it's the very iconic scene of
why is she so happy to be showering? She was smiling.
I mean, aren't you happy when you're in the shower?
No.
Getting clean?
I like to get clean. Yeah, I am. The shower hides my tears.
Shower puddle.
No, I don't like to be naked. So, although I'm also the naked neighbor, so it doesn't make sense.
Make it make sense.
Like I do walk around my house occasionally to go get things. I'm pretty naked.
Yeah.
And then but then I just don't like getting naked. So
not a fun process for you.
Yeah. So I don't like showering. So most of the time I'm like, this business only. Let's go.
Get the soap on. No. Yeah. And so she is in the shower. We have her also delicately and beautifully cleaning herself, as the scene is kind of giving more like, it was like isn't this the first time that this kind of scene happened, right? That's why it's so famous. Like, a woman naked showering, and so it's obviously a little provocative. And so, But as she's in the shower, we see that from the other side of the shower curtain, someone's opened the door. And so if someone is coming in, and at that point, the shadow is so close on the thing that you're like, you think she'd notice, but she's, you know, obviously washing her hair. So her eyes are closed. And then the shower curtain just gets ripped open and we start hearing the music, eek, eek, eek. And then she's getting stabbed. Yeah.
Yep. And we've got our iconic shower scene.
And it's so funny because like nowadays, like, yeah, but I get it for the times, but it's funny because she's just like, you can quite visibly see the knife is not stabbing her.
It's not touching her at all.
And there's no blood. But yet, like,
you just see the blood at the bottom of the tub later on, but you never see the blood on her body.
But even then, it's barely any, like, you know, it's like little, like barely any, like there should
like
definitely be a lot more blood for like how
many times she was stabbed.
And then also, I think from watching that scene, like so many times before even watching the movie the first time, I remember before I never knew like that she died. Like I always thought at some point, like, there was an escape or she runs off or like I thought
survives
I thought she was stabbed, but like it wasn't mortally wounding, you know. And then I'm like, oh yeah, no, like she's literally, this is how she dies.
She's literally dead.
Yeah,
main character
which is so crazy because it's in like 40 minutes into the movie, so there's still like a whole hour left after. And so she's, you know, getting murdered, and I like the scene of like how it pans out and then she ends up getting or like
grabs the curtain
and then falls to the floor, and then like the drain, like, you know, is the way that it comes out, and then we transition to her eye. Yeah,
which that was really cool. I thought that was a clever transition. It was probably probably pretty artistic for its time.
For me, this scene was the most, like, I would say, like, chilling, not disturbing, but chilling for me, because like then it's just like literally her body just like just dead there on the floor,
and you're just watching, and it's a long pan out from her eye. It's not just like it like transfers to her eye and then it kind of like moves on. It's like a slow pan as you come out, and then you're just seeing her dead body slumped over the tub, because she reached up and grabbed the shower curtain at one point trying to like help herself back up, but ends up slumping over the tub, so she's like
half in, half out,
face down, ass up, the kind of thing. And her face is just smooshed on the floor. Looks so uncomfy.
And so that's whenever we do hear from the house, and it's the Norman, and he's like, oh God, mother, blood, blood. And we have him running out of the house, and he ends up going into
because you get kind of like you don't really get to see the murderer as well either, but you can tell that it has longer hair. That they have longer hair.
And already off the bat, you're supposed to think like this is mother, like mother did this, his mom. And so he ends up running in there, and it's very much like he's surprised to find what is in there. Like he didn't just commit the crime. And
acts completely shocked and is just like
horrified.
Oh my God.
And
but wastes no time just cleaning up.
Ends up getting
it's definitely not the first time he's done it.
Mop, goes in there, knows to take the shower curtain off, laid on the floor, and then wraps her body in it.
He turns all the lights off too to go clean up, which is pretty smart, I guess.
Oh, and that water was running forever as well.
It was.
Like, damn, that shower's been running still.
Y'all water bill gonna be high,
and the water will not be hot anymore for a while. But he ends up lifting her out, putting her on there, wrapping her up. He washes his hands in the tub and like starts cleaning everything, starts trying to make it seem as if like nothing had happened.
And this kind of mild cleanup would never fly nowadays.
Oh yeah, no,
I've watched
not at
way
all.
too much Forensic Files.
No,
this would they'd put some luminol on that, and that blood would light up.
Like a bad house, like a blood house. My bad. And so he ends up cleaning the room, right? At this point, I was writing notes. So I was like trying to look up and down. And so he's cleaning the room, but
he's packing her car up and like with all of her stuff and making it kind of seem like that there was nobody here. And
did he grab the newspaper?
He forgets it.
That's right. First. Right. Yeah.
He forgets the newspaper, and he like puts her body and everything in, and then he goes back in for once around, sees the newspaper, and then that's when he throws it in the trunk with her. He doesn't pick it up,
and it doesn't see what's in it, that there's money in there.
Hey, this is maybe heavier than a normal newspaper is. But
it's got weight to it.
He just he literally chunks it in the trunk on her. So
And he ends up taking that car and her body, which is in it, to, I guess, a little lake that's right next to the
little marshy
pond
swamp.
or something. Yeah.
They call it a swamp later on. You check that swamp behind.
Which it had to be really close as well, because whenever he was at that swamp later on disposing of another body, Sam was calling out for him and he could hear him.
Yeah. It's like right behind the motel. Yeah.
And so he ends up doing all of that, dumps her vehicle. At that point
swamp
too,
in Phoenix/California area.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not
giving
super believable, but that's okay.
They should have just said lake, pond. I don't know.
Pond.
But
marsh. I called it a marsh.
At this point, I was also just kind of like, damn, like we really just got rid of our main person. Like,
she's sink into the bottom of this,
and it was like so easy, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, okay, damn, like she's really dead. Like that's it.
She's dead and she's gone.
She's dead from the neck up, dead from the neck down.
And I love how the car didn't sink all the way at first too. Whenever he pushed it in,
it's just like
kind of
gurgling.
stopped bubbling, and then it was just like, and he was like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And then it was like,
yeah,
and it went down.
Relief. And it's the next day, and we have Marion's sister looking for Sam at the shop.
Yeah, Sam Loomis Hardware. I think it's his shop.
Yeah. And so, which also, he was trying to say he can't provide for, like, bullshit. I call bullshit.
Yeah. He's got his own shop.
And so she goes over to look for Sam, and she's asking him, like, hey, like, have you seen my sister? Is she, I don't know what you have to do a part of this, but, like, just let me know if she is here or not, because she's worried. And at the same time that she's
need to know she's okay,
trying to ask him questions, there's a private investigator that also comes up, and he's like, well, while you're talking about her, let me talk about her too, because I got some questions for the both of you. And so
that rhymed.
It all comes down to now, this is a search movie now. We're on the hunt for Marion. She has stolen some money, and they are
that's
trying
why
to
the private eye is there.
Yeah.
He's trying to look for that $40K. Basically, he's been hired
because the dude, purpose. The rich man, is basically like, if we can just get the money back, like there are no charges. Like let's get the money back, and if we can just hush all this, it'll be whatever.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to get the cops involved.
He basically said, though, if a single bit of it's missing, that he's going to kill her.
Yeah.
So, but too late.
Yeah.
Shower the dead.
Yeah, exactly. And so they end up kind of creating a team. And so they go...
Team Lila, Sam, and Arbogast.
And Mr. Arbogast, the private eye, is stopping by a whole bunch of different hotels to try to get a lead on where Marion has been. Reporting back to Lila and Sam the whole time. And so he ends up getting to the Bates Motel, and he meets Norman, and he starts asking him pretty much basic run-of-the-mill questions of, like, you know, have you seen this woman? You know, she's gone missing. We're looking for her. Any information? And obviously, right off the bat, Norman starts answering the questions, but you can tell he's, like, not being... or he's just acting weird.
Yeah. And he's basically being like, no one's been here in weeks kind of thing. But then immediately slips up and says, like, oh, well, just last week this couple was here. And the Arbogast is like, what? You just said no one's been here. Do you mind if I look at your thing? And he's like, he's like, I've got a sample of her handwriting here. And
he's like, oh, yeah. What is it? What do you see? She was here.
Oh, yeah. Then, now that I look at her, her hair was wet. It was raining really bad that night. Her hair was wet. Yeah. And that's not a good photo of her. That's what he says. And it was like, okay. And then
he starts getting grilled by the Arbogast for the most part.
Yeah.
Because Arbogast can already tell, like, there's something fishy here and I don't like it. And he's like, you won't mind if I go check all your cabins, right? And then Norman's like, you know what? You can help me change the beds if you want. Like, you can follow me. And so they go out to go switch all of that. But as Arbogast comes outside, he does, like, see a woman's figure silhouette in the window at the house. So he's like, who's in the house? And then Norman's like, nobody.
And he was like, I literally just saw someone up there. And Norman was like, oh,
wait, that's my mom. Like, and so
she's an invalid
at this point.
So,
yeah. At this point, it's just like, you've lied to me 3 or 4 times. It's sounding fishy. It sounds like you are being paid, or you took the money, or something. Like, something's in it for you.
Her? Are you helping hide her? Is she up in that house and you're just lying to me about your mother and stuff like that? And then at one point, he says, she might have fooled me, but she didn't fool my mother. What is that about?
Yeah. And because he was like, oh, so she did meet your mother and all this. And he's losing his cool. And it comes to a point where he's just like, I'm really tired of these questions and I think you should go. And that's it. Like, I don't want to help you anymore.
Yeah.
And so the private eye calls Lila and tells her, like, you know, I found that she was at the Bates Motel, but this dude won't give me any information and I don't like the sound of it. Like, it's really fishy. I'm not satisfied. So I'm going to try to go ask the mom some questions and I'll get back to you within like an hour or less.
Yep. And then he heads back to the motel and Norman's out. So he looks around in the parlor and stuff like that, but doesn't really find anything. So he decides to go up to the house and then talk. He just walks right
in, lets himself in. Yeah.
And then heads upstairs almost immediately. And I was like, boy, what?
The balls, the gumption, the gall. Yeah. It goes in there. And that's whenever he starts to...
He's walking up the stairs.
That's right, the stairs.
Yeah, he's heading up the stairs, and then you hear the door creak open, and then he just gets stabbed.
That's right.
Right in like the face.
I like the way that as well they were following him down the stairs. Like it was like,
ooh.
Yeah. But the camera, I don't know how they would have done that, but they did it.
It was cool.
Yeah.
They did it, and it was neat. And then as he falls down the stairs and gets to the bottom, we just see him getting stabbed repeatedly.
By a woman, it seems like.
Seems like a woman, yeah.
But
someone in a dress.
And a wig. That's got a little ponytail.
Longer hair.
Bun thing going on. It gives very much the lady from like that Chicken Run.
Chicken Run.
I think that's what I'm thinking. I'll show you later. But
I haven't thought of that movie in forever.
He ends up putting Arbogast in the trunk of his car like he did Marion, and then we see him dumping the truck in the lake again.
Just puts like it right on top of the other car.
Yeah. And so for real though,
doesn't work. That shouldn't work.
And so as that happening, we do see Sam and Lila talking, and they're like, you know, it's been 3 hours. He should have been back by now. And Lila's not having it. So she sends Sam out there to go find him.
She was going to go, but then
he tells
Sam
her to
was
stay.
Like, no, you stay here. What if Arbogast comes back? And Lila's like, because Sam was more like,
chill.
It's fine. And she was like, no, I'm going. And then he was like, fuck it, fine, I'll go. You stay here.
And so at this point, he goes out to the hotel and he's calling for Mr. Arbogast, but he's not responding. And we do see that Norman is still over there by the little marsh lake thing, disposing of the evidence and stuff. So he completely ignores Sam. So Sam returns to Lila and he's like, I went out there and I didn't find him. And like,
There's
so
no one out
he
there.
didn't come out here. And she's like, no. So they're like, Sam is like, we're going to go to the sheriff. So they end up going to the sheriff's house really late and they wake him up and stuff. And
I love how they just go to his house.
Like nonchalantly, just like, we're here. Hello.
Is that some small town shit?
Yeah. And so the sheriff kind of doesn't want to help at first because he's just kind of like, what's going on here? Like, what is it? And so he's like, so she's not missing. She's run away, right? Because it sounds like she's run away as opposed to like, you know, she's missing.
Yeah.
And then they have to be like, well, she did steal some money. And they're trying to explain that she was at the Bates Motel. And already off the bat, especially when they said something about the mother, you see that old lady, she kind of winces her face a little bit. She's like, that's weird.
Look at
like,
what?
The mother.
The mom.
Yeah. And so they're talking about Norman. They're like, oh yeah, he's a hermit, like this and that. And Sam is like, well, can you just call? And like, no, he didn't ask. It's just the sheriff. He's like, well, I'll call over there and see what's going on. And at this point, I think they start to mention that like something bad had happened 10 years ago or something to that. Yeah.
They're kind of hinting that like, because they said that Mrs. Bates was there and she was like, oh, Norman took a wife.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then
they were like, no, the mom. And then they're like, well, that can't be possible because like
she's been dead for 10 years kind of thing.
And so now everybody's kind of like, what? So what's going on here?
And they were like, no, Arbogast definitely was talking about
an older woman.
Yeah. And said that it was his mom that was up there in the house, not anyone else.
And so then the sheriff, I love the sheriff's like, well, if that's his mother, who's in the grave?
Yeah,
because they're like, we buried a body.
We buried a body 10 years ago, so who's in that cemetery? And they explain that it was strychnine poisoning for both herself and her lover, that ended up she took her own life. Yeah, is what it says. But
what it seems like, we know that's obviously not the case.
Yeah, he killed them both.
And so they end up back at the house, and Norman. Oh, we're back at the house, and Norman is talking to his mom, or we think he is. We don't see because we just hear the voiceover.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, like,
take you to the fruit cellar.
Yeah, I got to put you in the fruit cellar just until things, like, cool off or
I
blow
can't
over.
let them find you.
Because he's basically trying to pin it on her.
So
and
now your brain's turning like, what the fuck? Like
what's happening?
If she's been dead, who the fuck is in there? Because we've definitely been hearing another voice. We've been seeing another person.
Body. And then he walks out with the body. And it just seems like an old elderly woman who can't really help herself.
Yeah, can't really get up and down stairs and stuff.
Which obviously to the viewers should be like, well, if she can't get up, like, how the hell is she going to get down the stairs and kill someone? And then yeah. So he ends up walking out with that body, I guess going towards the cellar. But then it's the next day already. It's Sunday, and we're getting out of church. And Miss Lila and Sam are meeting up Sheriff and his wife, and they're like, we thought, we could go with you out to the Bates Motel. And the wife is like, oh, he already went out this morning to go check it out. And
everything was fine.
Everything was fine. He's saying he saw Norman and everything was good. And, he told him what the Arbogast told him. Like, she was here, she left. That's it.
Yep.
And so they're really
same with Arbogast. And they're really trying to pin it and make kind of Lila, I feel like
gaslight her
crazy. Yeah. Because they're saying like, oh, he just got a lead and he's chasing that $40,000. He doesn't really care that kind of thing. So he's a private eye. He's just going out there and trying to get
money,
his due.
And so they end up Sam and Lila end up deciding, well, you know what, because she's like, I'm not gonna feel good at all until I go myself and check this out and
Sam's like,
make sure.
Yeah, me too.
And so they
head back.
They end up going to the Bates Motel. And so what they end up doing is pretending like they're a couple that want to check in to the hotel for the night, a stay. And so...
And then they're going to search every inch of the place.
Yes. And they do go in. They're acting like they're a couple. And Norman is kind of like, y'all don't have to sign anything. There's, no formalities.
Yeah.
And he's like...
Don't really need a paper trail because he already knows that...
Yeah,
I think
stuff
he's
is going on
to the fact that they're part of it.
Yeah, I think he's very.
He probably
much aware.
saw Sam too that night. Like, I'm sure he didn't just like completely ignore him. I'm sure he kept his eyes on him and watched him from afar.
So he recognizes him.
Yeah.
And so they're like, Sam is like, this is going to be paid for my boss, so I need like receipts and all that kind of stuff. So he's wanting to look at their ledger and like create like a paper trail.
Yeah.
And so Norman just kind of complies because he wasn't really doing that. Just like in a second, they're like, oh wow, this is the first place where if you don't have bags, they don't ask you to pay up front. And then Norman's like, $10, so it's very much like it's giving like,
which is weird.
This isn't normal.
Yeah.
Oh, and but I guess back in the day, because they thought like if you didn't come with bags, like you were gonna do something shady and then just leave and not pay.
Yeah
because it doesn't look like you're actually staying here.
True.
And so oh God, what was that?
Basically they are shown, well, Lila says she's going to go ahead and she walks out, checks that door number 1 is open and then kind of goes on ahead, and Norman's kind of like,
I'll show you to the room. And then they're like, no, we don't need it. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
And so he is keeping an eye on them. Like very suspicious already of like, they seem like they have an agenda or something's going on.
Yeah.
And so they're in the room, and at this point they're saying like, okay, we got to go snoop now. So the plan is for her to
They both go into.
Oh, they both go to
cabin
room
one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they see that Norman's gone. They decide to go into cabin one. They're investigating. They notice there's no shower curtain. Then they're like, "That's kind of odd."
And then they find that little fucking piece of paper.
That little paper that says, she was like, "It says $40,000 on here." I was like, she couldn't even rip up the 40,000.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Marion.
Come on now.
You had one job.
And so it goes to show that like this can't be a coincidence. Like she had to have been here. This is solid proof. And so now they're like, where is she? And so at this point, she's like, she tells Sam that he's going to distract Norman and she's going to go into the house to go talk to the mom or just like see what's going on, see what she can find.
Yeah.
And so Sam does go and he starts talking to Norman and she goes into the house to look around. At that point, it's very like, you know, the tension is building because you're like, he's trying to, distract, and she's in the house and you're thinking, and
he's like, really not doing a great job of distracting him, because he's more just grilling him and being like, what'd you do with that? Like, you're trying to sell this place out and buy a new one up on the main highway. You took the $40,000 cash and
because there's no cover now at this point. Like he's just like saying everything. And so
I was like, boy, you just gave away the what? No.
Not buying Lila anytime. And so Lila is in there though, but she does find some things and she ends up finding like a book right at a certain point that she looks through. I don't know why that was important in my notes, but I wrote that down. But at the same, she's just snooping at this point,
searching through the house. You see this weird indent on the bed, which is like, that's creepy, which implies that something lays there and doesn't move. Quite often.
But she does end up going to another room. And searching around, and then at a certain point she ends up working her way downstairs, going to like where the cellar is that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, she kind of gets pushed in that direction whenever she realizes
that
like,
Norman comes back.
Because at this point Norman's been like, okay, no, enough with your questions. Like, you know, and he's like, I want to offload this place. It's my world. And then he's like, bam, knocks Sam out and heads up towards the house. And again, very on a mission. Yeah. And so she is pushed down to that little stairwell beneath the main stairwell and ends up going inside the fruit cellar once he goes upstairs and to investigate further. And what does she find?
She ends up finding
Mother's corpse,
literally, who is just, I love, it's so funny the way it's there and then like the way it spins around, so like hello, it's me, Mother. But she screams
hello,
like bloody murder. And of course at this point Norman walks in, but it's no longer Norman, it's Mother, because he's dressed in a dress and has like a little wig and he's looking all crazy and he's got a knife. And he starts to lunge forward, like to try to go and attack her, but
Sam swoops in just in time.
And it's kind of a little comedic, but the way he's like holding him, and then
he's
like
just like,
well, and it's like the way like the dress is coming apart like one button at a time to expose like the man that's underneath.
This is Norman.
Yeah,
like we couldn't tell.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
This disguise was so good.
And he goes down real easy because apparently it's now the next day, and we are at the hotel, not the hotel, the like a police station type of thing, or institution somewhere. And they're talking to the cops and stuff, and they're basically talking to a psychiatrist who is giving them a rundown of like what had happened with Norman.
He says, I got the whole story, but not from him.
From Mother.
I got it from his mother. And he says his mother has taken hold now and Norman no longer exists. And so it says basically when Norman murdered his mother and her lover, Norman basically killed all the men in her life because he couldn't take being separated from her. And then it basically just messed with his psyche so much that his mother became a part of him,
because he couldn't cope with like the fact that she was actually dead. So his brain was trying to like keep her alive,
keep her there. And he kept her corpse, he treated it, and he began to think and then speak for her, and was never all Norman but was often only Mother, which I thought that was a cool line too. And basically anytime if he felt a strong attraction to another woman, it sets off this jealous mother inside of him, and then that would you know, spawn or spur his killing of that woman.
It was the trigger.
Yes,
and so they're talking about all that, and they're like I love how they're like, so he was a transvestite?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God.
Oh, The 60s.
Yeah, and then even the psychiatrist explains like, no, a transvestite is this, and then I'm like, oh, like still no, we're not, no. But
okay.
And I love how at the end of it, everybody's like, but where's the money? They're all like, where the fuck is the money? That's what we really care about. I only
care about the $40,000. Thank you.
And he's like, this was not a crime of passion. This was, this was not a crime of
profit.
This is a crime of passion.
Yeah.
It's at the bottom of the marsh, or the, what did you call it?
They called it a swamp.
Swamp, yeah.
But I called it a marsh. And basically they explained that after that triggered thing, like a dutiful son, he would come and clean up the murder too. That like he would awaken from like a dream-like state, basically, or like he had just woken up from a nap. Yeah. And that's why Norman was so shocked, kind of thing. Yeah. Because it was a different
it's not really him.
Part of him that did that. So it's like he's got multiple personality disorder. And then we're basically seeing Norman.
We see Norman, and he asked for a blanket because he was cold, and he's sitting in a chair, and we get a voiceover basically of like the mother voice speaking for him.
It's sad when a mother has to utter the words that would commit her son.
And she's like, but I had to because you were trying to blame it all on me. And you know, I couldn't even harm a fly.
Yeah.
And
why she wouldn't even harm a fly. Couldn't let them think that I committed the murders.
The dialogue is really like showing just how crazy Norman is.
Yeah.
And he's no longer himself.
He is psycho. And then you see them dragging the car out of the lake.
And that's how they decided the movie.
And then it's just over.
Yeah. I really wish they would have just ended it with his face smiling.
Yeah.
But then they decided to do that car thing. Yeah. I don't know.
Because then at first I was like, did I miss something? Like, did I black out and just like lose some time? Or is this a glitch in the Matrix?
That was it.
And then I was like, nope, that is how it is. So, but yeah, that's 1960 Psycho.
1960 Psycho.
So fun. Do you want fun facts or you want to do?
Let's do fun facts. Give me a fun fact.
When the cast and crew began work on the first day, they had to raise their right hands and promise not to divulge one word of the story. Sir Alfred Hitchcock also withheld the ending part of the script from his cast until it was time to shoot, which I think is pretty fun. And then after the movie's release, Hitchcock received an angry letter from a father of a girl who refused to have a bath after seeing Diabolic, 1955, and now refused to shower after seeing this movie. And Hitchcock sent a note back simply saying, send her to the dry cleaners.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's funny. Let's see. Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh said that they did not mind being stereotyped forever because of their participation in this movie. They said in interviews that they would rather be stereotyped and remembered forever for this classic movie than not being remembered at all.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know what else she would have ever been in. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, me neither.
And the way that I don't even know her, it's so sad that I wouldn't have known. I don't really know her name like that. You know, like I just know like that's the lady from Psycho.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Walt Disney refused to allow Hitchcock to film at Disneyland in the early 60s because Hitchcock had made that disgusting movie Psycho.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this is a good fun fact that I think we'll end with.
Not that disgusting though.
Oh, the Bates house, though moved from its original location, still resides on the Universal's lot. The motel has been replicated. It is a regular stop on the Universal Studio tram tour, which I've been on.
I think you've mentioned that before, right?
Yeah. It was cool. And I loved getting to see that. It was such a fun moment for me. And because at this point, my curiosity had been piqued by Psycho. Yeah. So it was like, oh, there it is. And even watching it again this time, in my notes, I was like, oh.
It revived your excitement.
There it is. It's a Bates Motel. Whenever you first see that neon, it just, it grips hold of your heart.
Yeah.
And it's so good. I love it.
It's very nostalgic.
But this will be the actual one that we'll end on. In the opening scene, Marion Crane is wearing a white bra because Hitchcock wanted to show her as being angelic. After she has taken the money, the following scene has her in a black bra because now she has done something wrong and evil. Similarly, before she steals the money, she has a white purse, and after she's stolen the money, her purse is black.
That's true.
Yeah.
Huh. It's a nice little nod.
Yeah. I thought that was a nice little artistic touch on his end. But boo time.
Boo time.
Boo time. I don't know why it always reminds me of Blue's Clues.
Mail
like
time?
mail time.
Mail time. Once I get the mail that makes me want to wag my tail. Yeah, something makes me want to yell. Something like that. Hell. Chanel. I will give Psycho a 5 out of 5 boos.
That's a good answer because me too.
Because I know if I don't, I will not survive the night because Caitlin will kill me right after.
Yes.
No, it deserves its 5 boos because it literally is like a staple in horror. Like it is a lot of people's favorite horror movie.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it is their kickoff to like the want to see more horror, to love horror. But also if you're just like watching the movie, like I thought it was, and it's, you know, to be really honest, like it's not even necessarily like that scary or like that much of a horror movie, where it is more of like a murder thriller mystery type of movie.
It's definitely more like psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Because you're just kind of like, what's going on?
On the edge. But it's really good. It's well shot. It's obviously a classic because it's Alfred Hitchcock. So like, I mean, the man kind of invented I don't want to say horror, but invented like the tone of suspense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Of like building tension and releasing, and then like making you feel like you said just a moment ago, what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
I thought it was actually too, for like the time, like 1960, like a pretty good like take on like, you know, whatchamacallit, like humans necessarily, like humans, and like this monster is like him himself.
I was trying to remember if I had posted the little shower scene at the Madame Tussauds. How do you say her name? I don't know how to say it. The Wax Museum in Hollywood, though, they had the horror exhibit going on, and in the background it's got Norman or Mrs. Bates
with the shadow and everything.
Yeah,
it's super iconic.
And then it's got Hitchcock in front of it, and it was such a cool thing. Yeah, and we posted that on our story a long time ago.
And so 5 boos. What would you give it?
5 boos.
5 boos.
Yeah 5 boos for me.
What's your 5? Why?
This is, like I said earlier, this is the movie that kind of spawned it all for me. I had watched horror movies all growing up, and I had seen, like I said, I think I saw the original, or I think I saw the remake first. So with Vince Vaughn, which honestly, it's phenomenal. Still, I still like the remake as well. And then I saw the original when I was younger, but then whenever I was in, this is when I bought The Strangers on DVD as well, because like Walmart had this like special edition kind of DVD thing that had like these cool covers that glow in the dark. So the cover on The Strangers one is it's the potato sack man.
Yeah, I have it.
And it glows in the dark. Yeah. And then on this one, on Psycho, I don't remember what the cover is, but I bought both of them. And then I started watching it just because, you know, I only had so many DVDs and I would just watch it when I'd get bored. And it just really started piquing my interest, and I was like, I want to really dive more into this. And then I started really watching horror films like with intent and not just watching them. Well, I mean, I went kind of like on a bender. Yeah, like I watched more.
Yeah, like you wouldn't go out, like you weren't watching 30 rom-coms, you were watching 30 horror films back to like, you know. Yeah.
I just went down like this rabbit hole where I was like, let me watch everything that, like, once I got Netflix again, I basically watched the entire horror category that it had. And so I've seen like almost every horror film that's been on Netflix at some point.
Yeah.
Whether or not I remember it is a different thing.
It. Yeah.
Like with the Wretched or whatever. Like I didn't remember until midway watching it. And then I was like, oh yeah.
Some things stay with you more than others.
Yeah.
That's all that means.
That's true.
But yeah, so 5 boos.
Yeah, 5 boos for me because
5 boos for me.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. I couldn't give it any less.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even feel like that's like that is a super biased answer, but also like It's
feel
like
most
even if
people
you
would
were
agree.
to like not like the movie, you can't not give props where props are due and credit where credit is due in terms of like, because it's not even just a movie at this point because of
How
the
many-
cultural impact that it
Yeah.
has had and how many, like I
Spawned
said,
so many different.
I literally felt like I knew this movie before I even watched this movie. You know what I mean? So yeah, and how many other movies can say that? How many other things can you say that?
Yeah.
Like not that many. So
Exactly. There's only a few movies that we've even mentioned that on this whole podcast, and we've covered over 100 different movies now. So it really did. The cultural impact of this film is out of this world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done a phenomenal job of standing the test of time. It's still today, like I really barely had any qualms with I think everything stood the test of time pretty well. I mean, yes, you can tell in the shower scene that she's not being stabbed and stuff, like quite literally, but even knowing that, I mean, I am biased going in, watching it again. I was basically like every single scene, I was like, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
But like there was nothing in it that I was like, this aged really poorly.
Well,
like,
other than the end.
Yeah.
But that's only because of like certain medical terms and like just
And-
more knowledge.
yeah,
that we
the
have
jargon.
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. There was quite a few moments in there where the verbiage was not correct. So, but yeah, 5 boos from me and from you. 5 boos from your boobays.
And that is Alfred Hitchcock's
1960. Psycho.
which we will be doing,
Got me
kind of
feeling
delving
like a
into
psycho,
some decades
psycho.
here coming up with the next few episodes on our movies.
Yes, we're doing a decades kind of month or whatever.
However long it lasts, I don't know. We're going to figure it out.
So we're starting with the 60s.
Yeah.
We'll move on up to the 70s.
And then do, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s. I mean, we got quite a 20s. So yeah, we got quite a few.
And we don't have to go all the way to the...
I don't know, but we just started with
because I
the
wanted
60s.
to do Psycho.
You want to do Psycho. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like...
Well, we don't have to go all the way up to the 20s since we technically haven't completed it yet.
That's true.
We could just go into the 2000s and call it a day.
Or to the 10s. The 10s, you mean, right? The 2000 and then 2010s.
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. I mean, but we could just go to the 2000s. We don't have to go to the 10s if we want to switch up gears at that point.
That's true. But either way, that's what we're doing, you guys. What we'll be covering next week, I don't know. But until then,
we'll figure it out.
Once again, we are in the lovely Rogue Media Network studio.
That's right. They always take great care of us.
They do. And if you want to listen to our show or any other shows, you can do that at roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right.
Or
you can listen to us or any of those other shows on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you would like to reach out to us, let us know your thoughts on Psycho. If you want to reach out to us and let us know your listener request, you can do so on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram.
At Boobays Podcasts, and that is at BOOBAES, because we're your boobays, not your boobabes.
That's right. And yeah, we'll repost that picture of me with Sir Alfred Hitchcock. It'd be kind of fun. I'll at least put it on the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so until next time, you guys.
Bye, bays.
Bye, babies.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.